And blue is the colour. SCN! Drogba! Lampard! That could be the
championship! Season's greetings and welcome back to Couch Critic with me, Dennis P, for a live stream edition of the match review, Chelsea's performance in the Carabao Cup versus Brentford. And of course, I will be joined by my co-host from GNA TV, Jem. But before we get into that, I want to let you guys know that we do have a sponsor for the show. And in the spirit of the season, spirit of gift giving, spirit of the holidays, they are offering a 20% discount when you enter the code Couch Critic. You will receive a 20% discount on all the merchandise on the online store. All you need to do is put in the code, once again, Couch Critic, to receive 20% off. And guys, let me tell you this one more time. If you ever want to walk in the footsteps of greatness, you know what to do. Hit them up. The link will be in the description. Yes. Greetings, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in. Got my boy Jem with me. We're about to get into this unbelievable Carabao Cup match versus Brentford and London Derby. Fantastic match. Jem, what are you saying?
I'm all good, brother. All good. I want to start by saying Merry Christmas because I know it's only around the corner, and I hope that you have a nice time with your family and whatever it is that you have planned. I'm all right. I'm looking forward to so much football over the festive period, right?
Yeah, same. And happy holidays to you and yours as well. It's funny that we talk about this festive period. It seems like some people get the festive period and other people don't, like with this whole COVID thing. You would think that, the health and safety of certain players, would be taken into consideration. But I guess when you're a Chelsea supporter, you don't necessarily get that same sort of privilege. You go, you keep going. I think the number is now, the only teams that haven't had match suspended was Chelsea, City, Newcastle, and Arsenal. Everyone else has had matches suspended for various reasons, but we're the only ones that got it turned down. But so go. That's what it means to be Chelsea fan, and also it only makes when we win that much sweeter because we know we're competing against not only the clubs, but we're also competing against, the FA, the refs, everyone. It seems like they all have some sort of a vindictive vendetta against us, and we find a way to prosper. So we celebrate hard. I want to say a big shout out to my boy Perez. This guy is Chelsea through and through. Trust me. He's got this tat right here, the Chelsea tat right here. He's a true legend. I've known him for years, and happy to have him aboard right now. Perez. We got Jonathan. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you as well. Prasanna, been a minute, bro. How you doing? What we got here? Good win yesterday with a clean sheet. Bring on the Spuds. Bring on Conte. Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be fantastic to see that match. It's going to be a Spursy performance. Anytime they see Chelsea in a cup, there's always the potential for the banana peel. Got my man Gabriel. Big up, Gabriel, man. Nice to see you in the stream as well. So, Jem, any surprises? We saw the match yesterday, 2-0 Chelsea. Fantastic performance from minute 1 to minute 90. What were the things that you noticed that, even with the starting lineup, that surprised you?
Not much really in terms of lineup because it could have really been anything. We didn't know who was available, who was injured. We was told Chalobah was injured and then he was starting.
Yeah.
So it was one of them ones where it was a bit up in the air. When I saw the lineup, I didn't really have much expectations for it, even though it was still quite strong for me when you looked at some of the names that are on there. Mm-hmm. I had at the back of my head, I had it that Brentford might come and maybe in many ways give us. I was one in many ways, especially after beating them 1-0 already there. So I had this in the back of my head that we're probably going to not get outplayed, but, maybe have it a bit hard, shall we say, in this game, especially with our form, right? Because our form's not we don't really have any real great form at the moment. And you just think to yourself, what next? As before, when we were winning, it's very like, yeah, we'll beat this team, we'll beat this team, we'll beat this team. Now it's like, you know what I mean? And they surprised me from 0 to 90 minutes. They controlled the game, you know. And this was a Brentford team that was strong. You know, you look at their bench as well. They weren't missing many. They had Canos on the pitch. You know, he was playing, one of their most important players. All right, Tony was on the bench, but he still came on, and for me, was very quiet. You know, they had what could have been near enough close to their strongest team, and we had a mixture of experience and a mixture of under 23s that were making their first appearances after playing, after training with the first team squad for only 2 days.
Right.
You know, so there was a lot to take in, and I thought they all played well. You know, they all done what they could have done. The only one that didn't, I mean, I don't know if we're talking about players, individual players.
We'll get into it. I really just wanted to get into the lineup because, like, one of the surprises for me was like Xavier Simons at right wing back. I thought that was a bit out of the ordinary, and then also Trev Chalobah and the commanding position in the middle of the defensive three. I thought he was fantastic, but again, we'll get into that. I thought Brentford, again, like you said, were very strong. They put a strong squad out there, but they didn't really play to their strengths. And one of the things that was, again, just as a sidetrack, like one of the things that was just like so annoying for me, every time they cut away and went to like that Thomas Frank guy, that guy's face is just unappealing. Like he's like and chewing gum the whole time. I was just like, yo, dude, just relax, man. It's just a football. It's like his eyes are just bugged out and he's chewing gum like he's got Hubba Bubba in his mouth or some shit. It's just like, yo, dude, calm down. You scared the hell out of me. But yeah, the match itself, I thought first and goal, we should start there because no real surprise that Kepa got in between the pipes. But what were your thoughts? I thought he had a fantastic game. I know many people gave him man of the match. I didn't. I have somebody else. But I did think that he was solid. And, you know, the two opportunities in the first half where they pretty much were, you know, open and probably could have scored. It was him that kind of like saved our bacon those 2 or 3 times there.
Even though we were sort of dominating the first half, you're right. We weren't actually dominating in front of goal. We actually struggled to create anything, if anything. To be honest, I don't think I can remember much other than Harvey Vowell's header from Aspi, which maybe he could have scored. But I mean, we can give him the benefit of the doubt when it's just his first game in the first team. But yeah, they had some really good chances. They were sort of sitting and playing on the break, and they caught us, I'd say, not many times. They caught us maybe 2 or 3 times in the first half where we could have been punished. I think Sarr fell asleep a number of times in the first half in his positional sense as well, which didn't help. And Kepa stood up. And, you know, look, I have no issue with Kepa as the individual because I think he is an okay, you know, he's an okay, decent goalkeeper. My issue is not him making saves, sort of close saves, that makes sense. So, you know, inside the box headers and his reflexes. It seems like he's always been quite quick with his sort of his, what's the word? I can't think of the word. You know, when you kind of do the save quickly, your reaction, that's the word. So his sort of reaction's quite good. But in terms of shots outside the box, there's still question marks, right? Because we were winning. I mean, what games were we was winning? And in the last blooming 92nd or 3rd minute, they scored.
That was the last stream we did, wasn't it?
Yeah, who was it? Was it Zenit? Yeah. That is what stresses me. And I know it might not just be his fault, but for me, it's an issue because he can't, you know, teams are comfortable for shooting outside the box more when he's in goal. And I don't know. We have to see. It's good game for him. Based on this game, he done very well. But I need to see more consistent patterns is the word with Kepa.
I'll say this, though, and I think that this is something that has been emerging the last little while with him in particular. I think his communication is improved immensely. Like, you see him, like, really talking to his center backs, like, really trying to command the area. And I think that that's where the biggest improvements come with him. Like, he's a little bit more confident. And
is he a leader, Couch?
Definitely not a leader. Wouldn't go that far. But I would say that, like, his ability to communicate to the back line a young backline when you consider Chalaba and Malang Sarr, the Simons out far left. Obviously, he had Aspie. We'll get into that, but but I thought that his communication was really good, and that's such an important thing when you have a keeper and a young defense and whatnot. So I'm going to give him props for that. And again, like his reflexes is still, cat-like. He can point blank saves that he makes sometimes are just like next level. So I'm not worried about him going forward. I think that like now, obviously we're going to lose Mendy to the AFCON. I'm actually not as panicked as I was even at the beginning of the year at the prospects of hearing something like that. And it's mainly just down to the fact that like I feel like this kid's matured a bit more. He understands what is being asked of him in the Premier League of Chelsea, what it means to be Chelsea. There's no days off, no minutes off. Your concentration has to be high, because number one, you're not going to be facing a whole lot of shots because Chelsea are usually in control of the ball. So your concentration levels, when that one opportunity just come, you have to be like completely switched on and ready. And like he's showing me the last few games that he has the ability to stay focused and command the area. So I was actually really impressed with what he gave us. But we should move into the defense. Man, Trev Chalobah, give me some thoughts on what you thought of him.
Bearing in mind it was his second game back, when you look about how long he's been out as well. Very good. I always questioned him. I say question him because he's, for me, this whole season he deserves like a one-off in my eyes because he's just been given the opportunity to play in the first team. But he's had a lot more better games than he has bad games, Chalobah. I'll give him that. And yesterday he was very good in a position that I was still not sure if he is good at. I know at right centre-back I prefer him there because it allows him to sort of move forward with the ball. And I like seeing him move forward with the ball because he's got a good pass in him. He can cross. He can actually be a little dangerous outside the box as well against opposition. But, in the central position where it involves you actually navigating the people next to you and seeing what's in front of you and, being maybe a bit more commandful. Yeah, I liked it. Chalobah's one of them ones for me, not for now. He's for the future, because when Thiago Silva and Aspie and all these guys do move on, he's going to be one of the ones that's actually mixed with them before they've left. And I just think that's experience that you cannot ask, you cannot look for, if that anyways. Like he's been given it on the plate, and it must be gaining so much playing with the class that he's been up with as well. So listen, massive performance by him. Dominated whoever it was that was up against him. Won balls in the air, strong in the air. He's actually quite physically strong when you look at him. You look at him and you think he could put on a bit of weight, but he's not. He can't shift him. He's got a bit of strength on him. He'll put a good tackle in. He times his tackles quite well, I've noticed as well most of the times. And the fact that you look at someone so young as him, you think to yourself, right, he's very good, but what is it that's a little bit weak about him that he can work on or do this, that, and the other? And the only thing I would say maybe is that maybe the game time element and the experience of playing more in the Premier League is it. But he'll get that in abundance because Tuchel trusts him.
Definitely. I think you touched on a lot of the things that I kind of wanted to comment on, but like his poise is next level. Like this is, what is he, 22? And he's playing in the center of defense for Chelsea and showing that level of poise and composure. That is like, I heard, there's been lots of talk from various Chelsea supporters and whatnot saying that if he stays at the club for long enough, he can go on to become one of our greatest ever center backs. Just because the way he's starting right now, you kind of believe that if he continues to go on this path, sky's the limit. Like you can play him so many different positions and he never plays a foot wrong. These are the types of things that you look for in young defenders. You give them an assignment, they take it on, pass with flying colors. You give them another assignment, they pass that with flying colors, and then another one, and he's continually just is on the ascendancy. So I think his poise is the one thing that I've taken away. And again, very much like Kepa, his communication was incredible the other day, like directing traffic, telling guys where they need to be in position. And also that sort of thing, when you have that sort of like understanding, command, and just know-how, that shows that you're thinking the game a couple steps ahead. You know where the next move is and the next move is. So all of these things are just like qualities that I love to see in a young center back, like the ability to really command that back line, a back line that also had our club captain in it. And he still was marshaling that back line and telling them where they need to be in order to like receive passes to, snuff out attacking moves and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm really, really impressed with this guy. I know I'm not alone. What do we have here? And Kit saying I was impressed with Sar. Oh wait, let me get this other one. Let me get this other one first. As Chilwell was taking Christensen, in your opinion, is it? Yeah, I think so. I just think that for me, Chilwell has more about his game. Maybe it's just the physicality, maybe it's just the poise, but I think Chalobah and the pace as well. I think that he's probably come to the point right now where he's neck and neck with Christensen, and for me, I prefer him because his physical tools are just that much more appealing to me.
Yeah, my thoughts on Christensen.
I do.
Lewis saying watching as well, but look, I just find it funny that he's meant to be our best defender to some Chelsea fans who they even think he's better than Rudiger, but yet he struggles to get in front of people like Chalobah who are putting him on the bench.
No slouch though. Chalobah, no slouch right now.
No, but he isn't. But if you're our best defender, you ain't getting put on the bench. Is Thiago Silva getting put on the bench by Chalobah? Is Rudiger? I doubt it. No, so that's what I'm saying. There's levels to this. Yeah, there's definite levels to this. But anyway, we move on.
Okay, so we did get the one comment from Ankit about Sar. What were your thoughts on his overall game?
Do you know what it is, right? In the first half, he's do you know what gets me with him the most? I think it's the positional awareness when you're under threat. It's the understanding, like where to be, or if Chalobah has to go to the right to cover Raspi, what is he doing? Is he covering Chalobah? Like I never feel confident him actually understanding the game. Does that make sense? Like I can't really. It's really weird to explain with Sar. Like I watch him and like he. There was a moment where Chalobah was the ball got knocked over Aspi and Chalobah's sprinting to cover Aspi's area. So there's this massive gap where Chalobah was, and Sar's there, but he's not even running. He's jogging. The only time he started to run, and it was in this game as well, is when he saw that the second striker of Brentford was running into that space. It was only the fact that Chalobah beat that guy to the ball that we didn't get caught. Do you know what I mean? Like it's that's what I'm getting to. Like it's the game awareness. Like, oh, we're in trouble. I need to do something quickly. It's the reaction. Do you know what I mean? Like his reaction is so just so unpredictable. And like the second half, he grew better and he wins tackles and he can pass the ball and whatever. But for me, he's still not Chelsea quality. For me personally, I don't.
Yeah. I think you hit it right on the head. I think he grew into the match, and this is kind of what you expect from young players. They're not necessarily going to be switched on. They don't necessarily know how to switch it on right from the get-go. And I think that if he had maybe a more veteran presence inside of him, Thiago Silva, as much as Chalobah did a good job of marshalling and like commanding the area and whatnot, I feel like if you have a Thiago Silva next to you,
it's levels.
Yeah, you feel a little bit more assured of yourself, and the confidence is just there. But I didn't think he had a bad game. I just think that, like what you said, he's not necessarily Chelsea quality, and I think that how you think the game is a big part of that. Like you have to be, razor sharp in your decisions. And sometimes I know we're going to get into it with the midfield. I just think that there's a couple. I know you know who I'm talking about already. It's just the intelligence on the pitch has to be at a high level. Even before the technical ability, the physical quality, you have to be intelligent enough to understand what is being asked of you. And I just don't know that he his anticipation and his reactions are of that next level. But I don't want to dwell on it too much, because I do think that overall he had a decent game. Like I thought Chelsea, the defense did asserted himself quite well. There weren't really a whole lot of chances, especially in the second half, and for the most part, that back line performed quite well. Azpilicueta, club captain, I don't think that he had a great game, to be honest with you, but at the same time, when he was called upon, he was there to snuff it out. I guess there was a couple runs that Tony made, and Bueno, am I saying his name right? But Bueno, he made a couple runs that Azpilicueta had to snuff out.
Yeah.
And I feel like the reason why we didn't see a lot of action on that left flank is just because they were targeting Simons and Azpilicueta, and most of the runs, like the counters, came down our right, their left, and we handled them quite well. I think Azpilicueta was okay, but it's still showing me, it's telling me that he's coming to the end of his career at Chelsea, because it's not his foot speed, his
it's the slow sort of like the drop off we got with Ivanovic, where he was there, and then all of a sudden the pace wasn't there, the anticipation, the interception, none of it. It wasn't at the same level, and you notice that level with them because they're always playing at such a high level. Does that make sense? They're usually quite consistent. So when they drop, you see that drop. Do you know what I mean? And that's not their ability. It's just their lack of just getting old. It is what it is.
And with this comment here, Gabriel, I actually think it's deeper than that. Like, Azpilicueta, as a man defender, loves to get touch tight, but he doesn't have the pace anymore. No. So when he used to close down on attackers and get touch tight, win tackles, he's got to know now that he doesn't have the foot speed if he gets beat, and he has to allow for that little bit of space to just marshal defenders rather than try and get touch tight and win duels. But again, I just think that age has caught up to the guy. He's been such a warrior for us. I can't really say anything bad against him, because he's been such a warrior. But yeah, I think it's close to the end for him, whether it be at right center back or right wing back for that matter. But I want to move into the midfield, because I don't want to really touch on the youth until the end of the stream, because there is a lot to talk about. And there, of course, we do have our special guest, MDT, that we're going to be calling on to help us navigate that a little bit. But I thought, and I could be wrong, but I actually thought at left wing back, Alonso was my man of the match. Alonso was my man of the match. And as controversial as that was, I thought he had a great game.
No. I don't know what a great game is for Alonso, because we know the level that he can play at, and we can still win games. And for me, that level's still not great. Like, unless he scores a free kick or he gets in the box and scores a goal, which is then, I would say, was a great performance. On top of everything, then I would hear it. Big up to Redneck and Andreas as well, man. Big up to Andreas in the chat.
Big up, fellas.
Look, everyone knows what I think of Alonso. I'm not going to sit here and go through it all again. I do think we still need to improve in that area. I don't think he's someone that we can rely on to start games consistently, especially without no Ben Chilwell. I'm sure you agree with me on that one. But in terms of his performance, it was better. It was better performance than what I've seen in many games of him so far this season, I would say, especially recently. He's, it wasn't an average performance. It was a little bit better than average for him. And again, for me, he grew in the game. He got better in the second half. In the first half, he had little moments where he was taking too many touches and he kept getting caught with the ball, and little Alonso things which you're just used to now. But then he sort of bounced back a little, and yeah, he grew back. He did grow into the game a bit more. So yeah, it wouldn't be my man of the match personally. I'll give you mine when we get to him. But yeah, he wasn't the worst player on the pitch. I thought he done pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought that he had the beating of Canos the entire game. Like there's times where he dribbled past them and got into space more than a few times, and won a few free kicks because they had to track back and tackle. There's a couple times where he put in a beautiful cross that on another day probably would have been scored if it wasn't Ross Barkley on the end of it, for instance. Just his overall game, he overlapped well. I thought he touched basically on the touchline and controlled that flank. Like they didn't get anything on the left flank as far as I'm concerned. And so he was my man of the match just because he didn't give me a lot to think about. Like I wasn't thinking about having Alonso on the pitch and him being a liability. I was looking at him and seeing him be assertive on the pitch, like help us build attacks, move the ball quickly, get into the dangerous areas, try and get on the end of things. Like the goal that we did. Yeah, I gotta, Jim, you're gonna have to take over a second.
Yeah, go on.
Give me 1 sec.
Something I'm good at. Don't worry.
All right.
Yeah, look, for me, guys, like I said, smash the like buttons for Couch Critic if you can. There's over 10 of you here. Please share on your socials as well. Yeah, share this link on your socials. Just try and help him get to 300 subscribers. And the only way we can do that is by sharing through Twitter. So if you go on my page on Twitter, you'll see that I've already quote tweeted it a number of times already. So make sure that you can quote tweet what I've sent, and let's try and see if we can get him some new viewers here if possible, guys. Yeah, big up to you all as well. But yeah, do that for me. Let's try and help him get to 300. See you in a bit.
Yeah, sorry about that special delivery. It's Christmas time. Yeah, I can't miss those deliveries.
Is it Santa Claus coming in or something?
Well, yeah. UPS a clause.
yeah.
But yeah, I just thought to get back to Alonso, I thought he had a decent game, so I gave him my man of the match. But I can certainly understand if people thought somebody else was more deserving, like even Kepa or, well, we'll get into it, I guess. But what were your thoughts on Kovacic?
I thought he had a good game, so for half a game, shall I say, because he only played half a game, didn't he? But I thought he was. I just think Kovacic needs minutes. That's all it is really, and I think it was just a perfect time to give him at least 45. Tuchel, for me, handled him quite well. Didn't give him too much, and for me, the midfield. I know we're going to talk about them all, but you can just already see we're having Kovacic and the others, Jorginho and Kante, back in that we just look better. We look more in control.
Better.
We just look more in control of games. We look better going forward. Like the forward line looks like they can flow a bit better because the midfield's back in. You know that you're going to have cover. You know that they can move the ball quick, beat a player. And Kovacic, for me, he's up there with one of the most important players this season. If anything, he could be up there at the moment as of player of the season with Thiago Silva at the moment in his performances. He's a top player. And Reece James, yeah, they're all in good form. I hope he just gets back to the level that he did before he got injured and COVID. So he's yet to be seen yet. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, I don't have much more to say. I think Kovacic and when Kante and Jorginho came on, it kind of just reminded me how impressive our midfield is. You kind of forgot that. Like you kind of forgot how that particular area is so important to our development as a squad. And when you see Kovacic on the pitch, you're like, oh yeah, that's what it looks like to have a midfield. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, Kante's back. Oh, that's what it means to, be, win balls and like be a real influence in the final third. Like it was just night and day. And, we can start talking about like what we're going to look like in 2022 now that we have these guys back, whether or not we're going to be able to like really compete for the title. But it was just hard to see us really compete based on what we saw the last like couple weeks when all these guys have been about. You almost forgot what it felt like to have like a real meaningful midfield, But I want to touch on Saul Niguez because we've seen him for like the last couple performances now, and I'm gonna have to say it. I saw something for him to build on. Like he's looking a lot more composed on the pitch. He's actually asserting himself a little bit more. And I think he's getting more comfortable with his teammates because he's making runs. He's trying to like get into areas. He's receiving the ball, moving it quickly. Granted, it was Brentford, and they didn't really put us under a lot of pressure with the press. But at the same time, like he looked a lot more comfortable in possession and, moved it about quite well. What were your thoughts?
The last 2 games I've seen him, I think he's slowly. I don't know whether Tuchel's been working with him more closely in regards to what's required in the system, when to go forward, when to get back, how to hold your position. Like for me, the biggest word of sound he gives is that he looks lighter on his feet. Like when he picks the ball up, he's not having 1, 2, 3, 4 touches anymore and then getting caught on the ball. It's like he's slowly starting to realize that he needs to be quicker. Does that make sense? So when he gets the ball, it's like, I've got to move it quick. And he's got a nice left foot. Like you see the way when he's confident, he moves the ball around quite nicely, and he keeps things moving. And look, it is early doors, and I don't want to jump on the bandwagon because we have seen some bad games of his. But at the same time, Jorginho was bad when he first came. Kovacic the same. Like they all had moments. I think we forget that this boy just came from the Spanish La Liga. Do you know what I mean? Played a handful of games which haven't been great. Maybe he just needed that time to adapt. And I do think he can be a useful midfielder now because you have got Kante, you have got Jorginho, and you have got Kova. But if he can continue like he had played against Brentford, for me, the Brentford game was his best performance.
Absolutely.
Like, he was, it wasn't that he was winning tackles. He won all his aerial. I looked at some stats on him. He won all his aerial duels. He had a 91% passing accuracy the whole game, which is very good when you think about we moan about him giving the ball away all the time or not making that pass, which was very good as well. And he was running into pockets of spaces. He was causing problems going the other way, trying to get corners and run into the, he was linking play quite well. For me, I think we have to reserve our judgments on him now because he looks like he might slowly be finding confidence in himself. And with confidence, you can only grow and start, releasing the ability you have. And if we can get that out of him, there is a player in him. I remember when he first went to Atletico, how good he was. By God, he was lethal, and he kind of lost it a bit. So hopefully Tuchel can dig in deep and bring that out. And it looks like he's slowly starting to find something in there for me.
I was actually concerned because when you don't hit the ground running and the team's winning, the team's finding form, it's going to be hard for you to get back in. Like you have to wait so long before your next opportunity. And I think that he's actually benefited from the rash of injuries because it's given him a little bit more time to acclimatize himself with his teammates and whatnot. And he's kind of, just now starting to look like a footballer again. Like he was well off it in the early parts of the season. Even, the last, was it when he, I guess, well, I can't really say much. He played wing back in the Champions League game, which was probably not advisable. But I saw something today that also could be utilized going forward because we did play, I'd say that we played like a 3-1-4-2 for the most part.
Yeah.
And he was kind of like more of an 8 when Jorginho came on. And it kind of gave us the ability to go long on the left. I know we usually use Alonso like that to advance the ball if we're clearing from goal. And there's a couple instances when we were clearing that Alonso came near and it allowed for Saul to go deep and win aerial duels. And I think he's actually pretty decent in the air like that way. So it might give us another wrinkle to just like build attacks quicker if he can, win that aerial duel, knock it down to, one of our attackers. Could be something to build off of there. But like overall, I think that he had a solid game. And it's definitely another performance that he can build on and, gain more confidence and hopefully just get, a few more minutes under his belt to, return to some sort of like form where he can be a meaningful player in the midfield for us. I don't think that we can use him very often as, that Jorginho type role because teams start pressing him. He starts taking too many touches. He'll get caught up. But again, that's a discussion for another day.
Another day, yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of Ross Barkley? I already know what you thought because I saw your comments on Twitter and I echo them. But I want to hear you. I want to hear you get into it here.
Funny enough, I had someone just message me now about we were talking about Ross Barkley, and when people, I don't know if you saw the video, but the people that are saying Barkley was better than Kovacic back in day, which is just really weird. But yeah, oh man, he's just not good enough. Like I know we've moaned about Werner and other players and stuff like that, but I don't like Werner runs around and tries, but I don't feel like Barkley cares. Like on the pitch, I genuinely think you're on a break and he jogs. I've never seen someone jog more in the game than him. Like he never sprints when he has the ball. He never sprints to run into pockets. And when he is running, it doesn't even look like he's running. I swear, it looks like he's still jogging. But his ability, we know he's got ability. We know that, but there's just no more excuses for him. And when people say, yeah, but he's come back. Listen, he's been in the Premier League since he was a baby at Everton. This is not something in terms of needing to adapt. He's played in the Premier League at a young age for Everton. He's got his opportunity at Chelsea. All right, he picked up a bad injury, but then he had opportunities, had countless of opportunities to show us what he is and what he's about. And yesterday was a good example of a player that for me is just done. Like he's not Chelsea level. For me, he's not. He's never been Chelsea level. I don't think he's been good enough for this football club. And for me, he just disappears out of games. And when he does pick the ball up, he's wasteful. Sometimes he's passing. He takes too many touches, Couch. Like he'll want 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 touches, and then he'll want to do that through ball. And I just don't. Everything about him, I just don't think he's good enough for this team, and it stresses me because you've got players that are coming through that want an opportunity here, and you want to see it, but you can't because you've got people like Barkley taking up a number on the bench that we can't get rid of because he's on contract and getting $100,000 a week on. So it's a headache.
Yeah, I echo your sentiments. I'm just kind of at wit's end with this guy. He gets a lot of opportunities to prove himself, and I just don't think he's just not smart. He doesn't have a football brain. Like you play him in the number 10, which he was yesterday, like obviously in the 8, but the free roll to roam wherever he wants. And the guy just does not have a football brain. Like for all the technical ability that he possesses, the simple things like, okay, when do I need to go and run into the space? When do I need to bend my run? When do I need to play that pass so that this guy can, whoever the receiver is, has the most optimal space to do something on the ball? Like all these decisions that you want your number 10 offensive thinker to make, he just makes it, 10 seconds after the fact. And I think that's because he's not a very good decision maker. And that's what I mean when I say he's not an intelligent footballer. He doesn't understand that when you're on the pitch as a number 10, you have to think 2 moves ahead half the time. You have to be maneuvering the ball to get the people in positions to score goals. And he just does nothing of that. I remember there's a play in the second half, not too long right before he was taken off, where I think there was like a 1-2 outside of the box, and I think Harvey Vale got on the ball in the box, and Ross Barkley's outside the 18. There's space for him to run into. If he gives Harvey Vale an option, just by coming near to the ball, he can probably lay it off to him, and it's a goal. And he refuses to do that. He's lurking outside the 18, and of course Harvey Vale gets closed down, and the opportunity's gone. These are the types of things, like your instincts. Like, what are your instincts as a footballer in that position? I would be attacking the box, trying to get in there, help my teammate, give him the option to either shoot or pass. He's sitting outside the 18, and just no sense of urgency whatsoever. I don't want to dwell on this guy because I think that it's overstated. What he offers on the pitch is not what we need at Chelsea. And, we could get into it right now. I mean, the youngsters like Harvey Vale,
Wow.
Again, takes his opportunity, comes into the game, first time in the Prem, and does not play a foot wrong. Truly took his opportunity to impress the manager.
Yeah, I think Harvey Vale is, in the short time that we've got to see him, and we've got to bear in mind it's his first game, only 2 training sessions with the first team. I was frustrated when Tuchel took him off and he left Barkley on the pitch. It was confusing me. I was like, you took off the player that, for me, was actually showing something. You know, had a point to prove, saying, "Look, Tuchel, I'm here. I can give you something different. You know, I can be counted for." And look, the boy's young, and he has a lot still to go forward with. But from what I saw against Brentford, his movement off the ball, his awareness, his link-up play as well. Some of the 1-2s he was doing with Jude Bell up front, you know, was quite impressive as well. And I felt a bit sorry for him because for me they had to play with some deadwood players when we had so much strength on the bench, you know, in Mount and Pulisic and Kante. You kind of wanted to see some of them just mixed with them. Do you know what I mean? Just to see what happens. And I thought Arvival was. I mean, look, he should have scored. Let's not get it twisted. I think even he knows himself. Doesn't matter how old you are. That was a free header in the box. You know, you put that in the back of the net. Well, you know, we're not going to criticize him for it, but you know, he looks like a good player and an option that we should be using in games like Chesterfield in the beginning of January, in the FA Cup. You know, we don't need to.
I think he's going to get opportunities. He's going to get more opportunities.
We don't need to see any more of people like Barkley because we've seen enough. We need to see something different that we can see that's going to be a use to our football club moving forward. You know, especially in the long run.
I want to transition because we are meant to be also speaking about the academy and, you know, the loan system. But I just think this is a nice point to segue away from the game and into this other portion of this discussion. And welcome in to the stream, my man, MDT. What's going on? This guy, once again, with all just knowledgeable. I had to bring you on because I just feel like you have something to offer this discussion that you know, is second to none. You have a real unique sense of what the academy is about and the players that have come through and whatnot. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to speak on not only the players that played yesterday, but also just the structure that seems to be in place at Cobham, and you know, obviously the strengths and weaknesses that we've encountered the last I guess 10 years. But yeah, before we get into that, let's cover these last three players: the Soon-Sup Bells, the Harvey Vales, and the Xavier Simons. Like, what were your thoughts on their performance in the game?
Thanks for having me, Coach. Jem, how are you doing? Coach, you're making me blush now. Come on, all the praises.
Come on, man, you know.
Well, Javier, Simon, the thing is, I was happy with his performance because, like I said, you know, I like young players to be played in an uncomfortable position to make them better. Normally, that's not his position. But yesterday, he was playing against grown men, and he was put in an uncomfortable position. He defended better. What I was impressed about, he didn't go down. If he went down, he would have given penalty. That's immature. That's just show the academy is working on them. You see, none of the defenders were going, when they're tackling, they were not going down. They were staying on their feet. That's how you know a player. From a young age, you see, they have to have the fundamentals. If the fundamentals are not okay, no matter how good you are, you can have all the attributes, all the skill in the world. But the fundamentals, those are the basics. That's what you learn. And that's the thing, Cobham don't get the credit for that. And with Soon-Sup Bell, you can see his movement. He's 17, playing against grown men. But you saw when he played as a 9, his movement is different. Okay, even if he doesn't get the ball, he knows where to go. Even if, you know, those are the things you look, the fundamentals. And those were things I was. But Harvey Vale is matured or beyond his age. He knows how to play. He plays like even at the academy level, he plays like a grown man. You know, there are few Chelsea players that done that. Mason Mount was one of them. Robin Loftus-Cheek was another one. Timo Anjorin was another one. And Callum was gifted, so that's different. He was gifted at academy level, so it's different. But I'm talking about the people that used to play as grown men. And sorry, Nathaniel Chalobah was one of them, as the midfielder, attacking, whatever, holding player. So those were the ones that you can tell from an early age, they don't play like kids. They play like a grown man. So that's why Harvey Vale yesterday, Harvey Vale was comfortable. So that's not a surprise.
Yeah. The thing that stuck out for me when I watched them is because I'm always worried. Like, I don't know, we talked about this before. I don't like when youth players come in to play man ball and they're not physically ready for it. Because I just feel like you're not putting them in a position to succeed if you're playing against like these Burnley-like defenders and you got like a 17-year-old that's rail thin and not able to like really physically impose themselves. I thought Harvey Vale surprisingly was physically stronger than I initially thought. Like, he held up the ball quite well, more than a couple times, where he's playing back to goal. They play it into him, and he's holding it up and then laying it off as well. And like that was probably outside of like the ability to pick a pass and see where the run is after you make the pass. His physicality and his ability to hold up the ball and lay it off was probably the most impressive thing that I saw yesterday.
Yeah, but look at this way. I'm not gonna get. It's not about Chelsea Cup I'm loving or whatever.
Well, we're gonna get into that, just so you know.
So, Jem, just look at this, okay? You can say anything about the Chelsea academy, but look, the academy players, they really lose the ball. Whether that's Rubin, whether that's Mount, they really lose the ball. When they hold the ball, somebody is behind them or coming close to them. They know how to position their body.
Mm-hmm.
Just check it. Chelsea academy players, whatever level they play, even the ones on loan, just see how to protect the ball. They're good at it. That's why people they have the fundamentals. So what happened? The academy teach them the fundamentals. So the ones that have the skills and the potential, they become the special ones. But every one of them have the basic fundamentals. That's rare to see in other academy. Other academy let their players play or whatever, say, oh, he's talented or whatever. Chelsea academy, even the ones that are not gifted, they have the fundamental to be a professional footballer elsewhere, even not at Chelsea. But they have the basic fundamentals. Like Barkley wasn't taught the basic fundamentals.
Let's get into that then, because I think there's a philosophical difference that I wanted to debate. And Jim, like, I'm not sure if we discussed this with you, but like, there is a school of thought where, the Chelsea Academy has kind of been robbed of opportunities, or, even today, the fact that so many of them are on loan and we don't necessarily have, people say that we don't have a full complement of players because guys are on loan right now. And, the likes of, Conor Gallagher is killing it at Crystal Palace, and he should be back at the Chelsea team right now. I just want to basically touch on what you guys think is the best, what has worked with the academy, and where have we seen holes in terms of development of the academy, graduating players from the academy into the first team. Go ahead, Jem. Why don't you start?
I think it's mainly the lack of opportunities because of the amount of players Chelsea have decided to bring in to solve issues short term. I don't think we've really had an opportunity where we've actually had to look for the future and maybe have like a little project. When you look at Chelsea and where they've been successful, it's always been about the now and not the future. And when you've got players that are being bought, different European cultural players being bought in to play with the first team straight away, bought in to provide, to be, to just hit the ground running in many ways. I think it's affected the talent, because people forget how good this academy and the reserves that we actually had. These guys were winning back-to-back titles, FA Cups. They've won Champions Leagues. Like our academy through the last good 5 to 10 years has been very, very, very good. It's just that we haven't, I'm going to talk about the board and the first team, haven't, not to say noticed it, they've probably noticed it, but not really given them the opportunity. Whether that's because, like we said, we've got too many players in the first team that are on contracts that shouldn't be, and we couldn't get rid of them, so they've just run their contracts down, like Drinkwater, Ross Barkley, these individual players that I think are in many ways taking numbers in the squad, because it doesn't allow, like I keep saying, the Harvey Vales and these new guys to come in and for Tuchel to just see what they're about. And I'm hoping that changes. I really hope that changes in the future.
But I wanted to touch on that, because I think there's something to that. I think that our successes in the first team, this idea of like hiring and firing managers, if you're not successful, has stunted the ability for academy players to graduate into first team football. And I don't think that that's ever changed. Like we've never not been in a position where we've seen an academy star come into the first team, get the handful of games and whatnot. But the fact that there's no continuity at the top of the first team, like with the manager, because we always shift the manager, we're not able to see like some of these real bright stars get opportunities to go from academy right into the first team.
Do you know why I think partly that might be as well? Is because when you go back 10 years ago, when we were winning titles and we had a very successful team in place, there was always a lot of world-class players in per position. So defenders, midfielders, strikers. You could just go and buy players if you had the money to buy them. Like the big example is in January we bought in Fernando Torres for 50 million. Because at the time we thought it was a big hit, not realizing that it was on the decline. Like that was the way it was, because there was always such. For me, there was always so many great players in positions. Like when you look at defenders, you had the Ramoses, the Puels, all the Italian defenders, and then you get to the Premier League and all the things there. The difference from then to now is that I don't think that quality is there as much. You look at what you can go and buy now to solve your problems. There's not that. Like when you look at the positions that around the world and you try and think of 5 to 10 world-class players in that position, I think you struggle. Does that make sense now? And that's why I think that it might be an opportunity for Chelsea now to go, right, we ain't going to fight with every big European club in the world for Haaland. We're just not going to do it because he's one of the only strikers other than Lewandowski's, Harry Kane's that are out there to go for. Maybe we need to start looking closer to home and rely on our scouting team to maybe start looking for the next big Haaland or Messi or whatever. And I think that can happen now, because I don't think the quality of players is at its high like it was back then. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I want to bring in MDT here because I think that you have a lot to add to this. In terms of, I want to start maybe 2012-ish, because there was a bit of a philosophical change in terms of how we were, structuring the youth academy and, basically trying to, I know this based on just what I've read, that the youth academy would always mimic or shadow what's happening with the first team, so that there's a structure in place, and then basically a progression where if you learn the philosophies of the first team, you stand a better chance of going from youth football to the first team. But what are your thoughts, like 2012 when this happened? What did you notice as the biggest difference?
Yeah, sorry. Just to pivot back was what James said. That was correct. We didn't have the players before around, let me say, 2012. The players were not ready. The youth academy was still. We were buying youth players from other teams who were 14, 15. We didn't bring our own through yet from Cobham. I mean, Cobham Original, we didn't. The Cobham Original brand started with people like Nathaniel Chaloba, Louis Baker. Those were the original, like this new generation. I'm not talking about the John Terry and Jody Morris. Those were the ones. Okay, those were the ones. So yeah, it's similar time when 2010, 2011, 2012, they started to restructure to make sure that the first team, all the group, the academy structure, everybody play the same way. Okay, that started around that time. It started under Ancelotti. If you guys can remember, Ancelotti's second season, Chelsea let go of Michael Ballack, Joe Cole, Deco, quite a few of them. Ancelotti promoted who? Just McCutcheon. I think even Gail Kakuta had a few games he played. You remember the season we finished second and he was fired at Everton?
Oh, yeah. Wasn't he fired in the tunnel against Villa?
Thank you.
Terrible.
Yes, the club get rid of a lot of senior players to make room for the up-and-coming youngsters. The youngsters didn't even play much, but the squad was thin. They played few games, but they didn't play much. But when we didn't win anything, the manager was fired. So let's go to the board. That was the board. So that was our chance to start the process, but it never happened. The manager was fired. Okay, so Villas-Boas came in after Ancelotti, and then the process started again. That's when the network has already started. You remember we got Juan Mata, Daniel Sturridge was promoted, and then we got Romeo from Barcelona. Ryan Bertrand was promoted on that Champions League squad. Yeah, quite a few players got their chance. But the biggest mistake we made, we were changing philosophy to start mixing our squad with best of the world, because we were still winning. It wasn't a problem. But when Villas-Boas was fired, we won the Champions League. That time, we already bought Thibaut Courtois. People forgot that. It was already bought.
We already bought De Bruyne as well.
Thank you very much.
Marco
and
Marin.
we bought thank you very much. Marco Marin and Hazard came that summer. So Hazard came that summer with Azpilicueta. So all of these players were bought to continue the process, to buy the best of Europe and the best of Cobham. But then when Mourinho came, Mourinho told the board that it would be more profitable to sell players, Cobham to be a farm technically, to sell the players, use the money to buy players who are 24, 25, because that's the age group for a player to be matured. Yes. So if you do your research, Mourinho, even there's a stage he wanted Cobham to be shut down, and he fought with Emanalo about that. Okay,
so
people forgot.
Who are the? Okay, so I want to say 2013. You're saying 2013, 2014 was when Cobham really started producing, some real names. Because I remember the names. Okay, so there was a Kawabia, I believe. There was a Islam Farouz, who was supposed to be like the Scottish Messi or something like that. Yeah. There is well, obviously Lewis Baker, Chaloba, Ruben. I'm probably mixing up the years.
Jeremy Boga, Carlton Palmer, Cole da Silva, Jay da Silva. What's his name again? Was it the guy that some of them injury ruined their career? The one that we got from West Brom. Izzy Brown?
Yeah, Izzy Brown.
Izzy Brown, yeah.
Yes.
So, of these guys, of these names here, which one do you think Chelsea did not give an opportunity to really excel and get into the first team? Because I don't necessarily buy that they weren't given the opportunity. They just didn't take it for me.
No, there's a one person that everybody felt he wasn't given the opportunity, and Chelsea knew he was good enough. Chelsea had an option to sell him to Bayern Munich. They refused. Barcelona wanted him. They refused. It was Louis Baker. What's his name again? The one that passed away. What's his name? Was on Sky.
Yeah, I mean Jeremy Boga was
Wilkins.
Yeah, Ray Wilkins. Ray Wilkins went on Sky. He was so unhappy. So said, and even Jody Morris. One of the reasons why Jody Morris was disillusioned at Chelsea, it was because of that. Even Eddie Weber. So quite a few of the Cobham whatever feel like we were signing players that were not good enough or not better than those players, but we were giving them more chance. We end up spending more money on those fringe players. So Louis Baker should have been let go early because he had the chance, he had the opportunity, but Chelsea refused because Chelsea were making money off the loans or whatever
reason was he getting loaned though? Like he went to Vitesse for a year, he had a good year there, and then he went to Reading or something like that. Like it's not like
the Vitesse one. When he did it, he had a very good loan there. So the promise was he would come and be part of the first team. But what went in his favor, went against him, it was change of manager. When a new manager come in, obviously they will say, go on one more loan. When that kept happening, the guy was disillusioned. He was not the only one, quite a few of them. So that's why Louis Baker started this trend. He started the trend where now he become the poster boy of the academy player now, not staying, not signing contract.
He stayed though.
No, he stayed because he loved Chelsea. But this is the problem. This is why now we're fighting it. Even like Livramento leaving or whatever. Yeah, we were chasing other players. But everybody, even their advisors are telling them, no matter how talented you are, if you're not given the chance, you're not gonna. Don't go on loan.
Thomas Callas was given a chance against Liverpool away. I remember
Yeah,
that.
Totally.
Yeah, and he didn't. For me, he didn't take his opportunity, and that's a good example. But, you know,
your Callas were given to opponent.
Yeah, I just think that what's happened
there are lots of them that were not good enough. Okay, and also one thing, Chelsea made a mistake here. Okay, Couch and Jem. Chelsea should have sold them and put a buyback option like Real Madrid used to do. There was no need to keep sending them on loan or whatever. And keep sending young kids on loan. You're using them like a animal farm. Let's be honest. If it were your kid, you wouldn't be happy. So Chelsea should have sold the kids and make money off it that way, not the loan system. The loan system here, we make more money on the loan.
Well, I don't think it's always down to money though. Like before. First of all, Chelsea's a very high level, right? We can all agree to get in the Chelsea first team requires a lot of ability.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like you have rite of passage when you come from youth football to go right into the first team. There's only a few that have actually done that, and I believe
that's what I agree with.
Yeah, I think that the philosophy. Go ahead, Jeff.
That's why you sell them. You have to sell them with a buyback option, even at 18, 19, 20. Just sell them.
That's become something new. But back then, the philosophy for me was let these guys go and challenge themselves at a higher level. Like we all know that when the Chelsea youth kids, they play two years above their age groups normally because they're always being challenged to play at a higher level.
Yeah.
And with the likes of I don't know who'd be a good example.
All of them. Even Ruben was playing at 16. He was playing under 18, under 21.
Yeah, but he never went on loan though. What I was saying was when you go on loan, the notion is even with Lewis Baker is to push yourself at a higher level and give yourself an opportunity to really grow your football. And when you don't do that, it's very hard for you to come back into the first team.
Yeah, you guys remember Nathaniel Chalobah went on loan at Watford. He was there almost I think the second best player of the season.
Yep.
Remember when Zola was there?
Cracker for Zola, yeah.
Okay, so but him I think is a kneecap injury. He had a lot of injuries as well. So sometimes it just doesn't work for you. But what I'm saying, Real Madrid, what they do with their youth team, when they send you on loan or they see that you have a prospect, they sell you with a buyback option or buy on percentage or whatever. So the sell on fee. They've been doing that for ages. Now Chelsea just catch up to start doing that. So that's what I mean. It would have been more profitable for us if we did that earlier than I know we make money. The thing is, Couch, people don't get this. Chelsea make between 30 to 60 million in some years. It depends. Sometimes 30 million, sometimes up to 60 million on loaning players, whether they're first team players, youth players. The loan system is big money. It's big business. I agree with it. For a fan point of view, I'm happy with the club doing it. It's a business. But from a human perspective, for these guys to have a career elsewhere, if they're not good enough for Chelsea, just sell them.
That's why they wouldn't do it. That's why they wouldn't do it, though, would they? Because Chelsea is a business. As much as it's our football club, people forget it's a business behind closed doors for certain individuals that are working in that football club. And when you look at the number of loanees that we had out, I do think it was 90% of them was probably because they just knew they would never get in the first team. But at the same time, rather than sell them, let's try and make some money on just loaning them. But there's only the thing with loaning is that you can only do it for such a period of time. Then it gets to a point where, like, you're right, maybe we should have just sold them on and then bought in through the next batch. But Chelsea have always had, and this is the thing, it's not all about just Le Cobham. We've always gone and bought across Europe talent and brought them into the reserves and mixed them with the players that we've got currently there. They played a couple of games and then they seem to just go back on loan across Europe and then you never hear of them again. And that's the kind of way Chelsea have been modelled to work with the youth. Now, that's why I keep saying now, I think it is, I'm hoping that it is starting to slowly change because bringing Reece James in, Mason Mount in, Tuchel giving Trevor Chalobah a moment, even giving the opportunity for Harvey Vale and what's his name, Jude and Javi Simmons, all these guys, an opportunity to actually play is a big step for a manager of Chelsea Football Club to do, and that's why I'm hoping that we start to do that more, and that Chelsea, rather than go out and keep buying players, try and just get rid of some of the deadwood, not flood the academy with the first team, because you can't do that. Right. But maybe just give the opportunity and say, look, I want to have 2 or 3 for the future. We're going to buy still, not a problem. We'll go and buy where we think is important, but I want to have some of these players coming through. We don't just want to loan them out, and this is what I'm waiting to see. I'm still not sure if we're going to do that. We've been
waiting for it for a while.
I'm waiting. Yes.
No, I agree. I'm just trying to. I question whether or not what we've done is the wrong thing, though, because obviously a lot of what's happened at the academy level is number one, a money generator for the club, but at the same time, it's also given these guys, prepared these guys for a career in professional football. Like, I don't think that Cobham was put together to produce players for Chelsea per se. I think it was just to prepare these kids for professional football where we can have them flourish, sell them on, make money that way, and if we have somebody like Callum Hudson-Odoi, Reece James, all these guys, Mason Mount, we keep them and we integrate them into the first squad or the first team. But I don't know if what we do at Cobham is designed to see, progression of youth kids into the first team. And I think that's where a lot of the misconception sits, these people think that's what it's for.
One more big issue I find with, especially because of the amount of players that we have in the academy, actually finding the right talent, maybe bringing them in or even missing them, which we have done, I think, in the past, is that we've had so many managers at this football club, and when they come in, they all have their own idea of how they want the system to work, who can fit in that system. The issue is that with someone like Tuchel, he might look at Harvey Vale and go, he fits my system, he's good, I'll bring him through. The issue that I think then happens is that, and this is a Chelsea thing, you have him for the manager for 2-3 seasons, he disappears, a new manager comes in, changes the system, realizes that Harvey Vale doesn't fit it, but then finds another one that he thinks maybe that Tuchel missed at the time that he thinks could fit his system. And for me, it's more of a pick and choose based on what the manager thinks at the time would work in progression in their system, because they want to bring through the next big thing. But it's not to say that we're going to be able to do that on all of them. And that's why I think it's always going to be picky. Him, that one, maybe that one. It's never going to be continued. There's going to be continuity in it, because we don't have managers like Ferguson who stay at football clubs for 10 years plus, that are allowed to adapt and bring through who they like, and are one with a football club. That's
okay, but isn't that part of the problem though? Because if you want to see a natural progression from the first team,
you need the manager I'm not saying they don't care when they come, because they're getting paid. At the end of the day, these managers get paid to do a job. Yeah, I'm not saying they don't care, but sometimes I just want that manager to come, but get paid, be good, but also care about what's going on here, and say, right, I'm going to stay here for 5-10 years, providing the board want to keep me here and they're down for it and I'm doing well with what I've got. Just let me get on with it, and I'll pick out the talent that you've got in the academy and I'll try and bring them through. That's the issue, because we always switch managers.
But and MDT, I'm gonna give you the opportunity to answer this, because this is a burner. But do you guys think that you can chop and change the managers. Obviously, it's proven to be successful for us. We've been winning trophies and whatnot, but is it advisable to do that when you don't have a sporting director, somebody that could, give you the watershed? Okay, this is the style of football we want to play. Here's the manager that we want to implement this particular style. These are the players that we want to play this particular style. I think what's happened at Chelsea right now, since Emenalo's left, it's just been shotgun. It doesn't matter who the manager is, doesn't matter what players we get. We bring in this guy and we expect performances without any real philosophy or understanding what we're trying to achieve. I said on my last stream that I don't know if there was a plan in place around buying Kai Havertz. I think it was just he's the next big name in Europe, and let's get him. What's the philosophy? What are we trying to achieve? What are we building a team around him? None of that was in place. And I think that that's where the misstep is. We bring in these names without any real vision about what we want to do. And I think that that is also the problem that has been plaguing the academy as well. Because if you don't have succession, like with managers, or you don't have a director who's directing, the entire thing, like looking at youth football, looking at, our loan system, looking at our first team. If you don't have somebody directing that whole thing, it just seems like a scattergun approach to building a football club. But MDT, I want you to come on this, but I also want you to deal with this question here.
Yeah. Before I deal with what you just asked, Abdul B, Mourinho advising the club to shut the academy down. He wanted the money spent on the academy to go to him so he can buy players, not for the benefit of the academy. And also the Chelsea academy, there was two aspects of it. Roman, the owner, wanted 50% of the Chelsea team, like between 30 to 50%. If it possible can be an academy product, that was his dream. That was his vision of the club. That's what he wanted. Okay, but he was getting managers that know that if they don't win, they will be fired. Exactly. So these were the problem. So, but then guess what? Roman know these kids since they were 9, 10. He knows them because he watched every academy match when he was in England. So they attached to him. Even his young son knows these kids. That's what people don't understand. So to let them go, aspect of it, these kids attached to Chelsea emotionally. Some of them, their families will advise them to leave Chelsea, but they don't want. They want to break into the first team. Then there's a conflict. But Chelsea know as well, if the player has prospect, even if you send, like, let's say, right now, Conor Gallagher. Conor Gallagher is a big money loan. That's why people don't underestimate. Even Billy Gilmore. We make big money on them. Okay. So these are the things people don't understand. Chelsea is a business. But then, if you know that the player, the player has been to a couple of loans, they already make you a little bit of money, you can sell them and put a buy on or buy back, like we did with Nathan Aki.
Yeah,
Nathan
but
Aki,
even
we made
still,
money.
even if the idea is to sell Conor Gallagher, is it not better for him to go on loan and flourish and then raise his value? Like I don't see the point of having him in the youth system or in our reserves and not really flourish, find his football, because he's not growing in value.
You're talking about the value. Okay, let me give you an example. Michael Edward, the Liverpool sporting director.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember, but it was him or on the Real Madrid module. They said what they find out: if you send a player on a loan, they perform very well. You can sell them. Like, let's say you can sell them for 10 million, 20 million, because they did well on loan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, to a smaller team. But if that player just break into your team, your first team, like let's say Chelsea, a young player come to Chelsea and play 10 games, 10 start in all competition, 10 games in 2 seasons in a row, you can sell them more, because teams think that they might not be good for Chelsea level, but they're like, you remember Solanke? Liverpool came to us and took Solanke. Solanke didn't do anything at Liverpool. They sold him for 20 million. They did the same thing with, what's his name? The other guy that went to Sheffield.
Who went to Sheffield? The striker.
They took it from our. Yeah. So teams were coming to Chelsea.
He used to be a Chelsea, an academy.
Thank you.
Bruce
that's what they were doing. They will put them in their first team for a few years, so increase their value. Michael Edwards is the one that said that. It's more money if you bring a youth team inside your first team, play them a couple of games, even if they're not starters. Just them being part of the first team. Teams below you always think that they might not be good enough for the top level, but they're okay, whatever. But if you send them to the bottom teams, they struggle, you're at risk. If they perform, you're okay. But if they struggle, their value goes down. So why take that risk?
But this is just it, though. Like, you don't expect them to struggle, because if they're struggling there, they can't come back into the first team anyways, right?
Yeah.
You have to take control of your career.
He's talking about selling them. Yeah, he's talking about selling them. If you want to sell them and maximize your profit in business term, it's more profitable to bring them. That's why Liverpool, if you check, each season they have about 5 youth team players in their first team. they're never going to break into the first team. They're just there to sell them.
My thing would be name me one player from our academy or who's been bought from Europe and played in the academy that didn't really get an opportunity or had an opportunity, limited opportunity in the first team and went on and flourished and is now one of the top players.
I can't think of one name.
That's
I can't
my
think
problem.
of one name.
That's my thing. And when you think about the ones that actually have Kevin De Bruyne and Mo Salah, they were never in the academy. We just brought them in. They didn't flourish in our system. They didn't work, and they went on and grew in different. You know, I think De Bruyne went Germany and Salah was in Italy, and then they become the players that they did. It's what I'm trying to get is that the quality maybe isn't just there for 95% of them, or they're maybe taking the wrong decisions on where they're going throughout their career. That's maybe not excelling them. It's the, bringing them down in many ways. I don't know, but for me, I don't know one player that's left us that's gone on. Patrick Bamford's another one. He was playing for Chelsea in the reserves for a number.
They bought him. I don't even know if he was there for that long because they bought him from Nottingham. Was it Nottingham Forest? Was it 1 year that he was there and then he was supposed to?
No, he was there for
2 or 3 seasons.
Oh, he was there for a bit.
Okay. Because I thought he came to us at like 18 or something like that.
Exactly.
No, I think.
We're not actually. What I'm trying to get the point I'm trying to get with all this is that we're not actually missing or losing anything here. We're actually making money where we can make money on them, or make money where we earn them so much. And then it's not like we're looking back and going, "Crap, he was in that squad." Like people didn't know this, but Kylian Mbappe was at Chelsea when he was 15. He was.
Well, he had a trial, right?
He had a trial, and I think he played a little bit of football for us, and then he went off, and we didn't notice it. Our scouting team didn't notice how good he was. He went off and become the player he did. Do you know what I mean? But what I'm trying to say is very unusual. It's just to see a player leave a football club and then become not a world class like elite level, but a top player in Europe, if that makes sense. It's always.
I want to deal with this Gabriel question right here because I think this is where I kind of lose it. I'm thinking about at some point players have to take control of their career, right? So if you go on loan, you go to Vitesse, you go whatever, you have to know that you have to assert yourself at a very, very high level to enter the thoughts of this club again. You can't just be floating away at loan and then not really applying yourself and finding your football. I think that's the problem. It's not always down to the club. What is the solution? Does the club not send these guys on loan and have them rot away in reserves? Is that the solution to this?
There's no solution other than loan them.
Yeah, Coach. What Gabriel just said, this is what I was saying. I believe that Chelsea now they start doing it, but they should have added this to the structure because you can have twofold. Real Madrid does both. They loan, but they sell on a buyback or buy on profit or matching clauses. They do that a lot. So this is what I'm talking about. The reason why I'm saying this is which player? What's the name of the player? Harry Kane.
Mm-hmm.
Harry Kane went on loan 3 times. They were all horrible loans. Tottenham could have sold him for next to nothing. Nobody wants him. That's what people forgot. Tim Sherwood came and gave him a chance. So sometimes don't judge a player on a loan. Okay. And the other one I want to tell you, Reece James? Do you know Reece James was meant to go on loan? It was Jody Morris and Frank Lampard that stopped that loan.
Yeah.
So
but even still though, he asserted himself at Wigan. He got himself into the thoughts of
but that's what I'm telling you. Most of these players we're talking about, when they went to loan, they were player of the season. But I'm just telling you, even if it wasn't for Lampard, that's why I always give him credit for that, him and Jody.
But he had no choice. He had no choice.
No, but but he had choice. No, he had a choice. He could easily. That was his. Go and read. There's an article on BBC about Reece James' father speaking about this thing. Go and check BBC. It's there now. About Chelsea giving them Sheffield United wanted him, few other clubs. Reece James came back from training and said the manager wanted me to stay. Okay, that's what I'm telling you. Lampard could have kept Zappa Costa or whatever. He chose to go this way. So I give him credit for that. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. That I will give him credit for.
I agree.
Tamori wasn't meant to stay. He was meant to go on loan. And people forgot Fikayo Tamori's first 2 loans were terrible. at Brighton and Hull. It was miserable. People forgot because I follow this kid as whatever. I'm like, I was shocked. I'm like, he's very good. What happened to him? First 2 loan was terrible. Derby loan was the only loan that was good. So if we were going to judge him on his loans, he wouldn't have been this player he is. Because some players, they know how they can settle easily. Some, they're not comfortable in new environment.
Right.
They learn to grow to be comfortable. So every individual is different.
I'm trying to figure out what the solution is because
you have to
allow them to play.
We should have 2 approach. We shouldn't have one approach. Okay, but now Peter Cech coming in, things are changing at Chelsea. This I'm hopeful because the structure behind it is being changed to be better for Chelsea financially and also not to hold on too many players. Sell them on a buyback, sell them on a buy. You know, the thing is, there's no need for us to hold on to the players that we think they might make it, they might not. Right. So just make money off them, loan them, whatever. If they make it, we buy them back. If they don't make it, we're okay.
Okay, and I'm going to let you come in, Jen, but I just wanted to say this. Like this whole idea of a buyback clause. So you put them on loan for a year and you give them a buyback clause. Like what if they don't, first of all, what if they don't sell? So you're sending these kids on loan, and the buyback clause is basically if we want to sell, we will give you the option to buy him at this number, right? It's not basically, okay, well, you guys have developed him, we're going to buy him back now. It doesn't work like that, right? Like
no. It depends how the contract is written. Yeah, because sometimes Chelsea can say, in 2 years' time, we're going to come and get him for 40 million. That's the contract. There's nothing whatever. And clubs are doing that because they want Chelsea player. You know, even Bournemouth, it was 40 million for Aki. And Southampton is 40 million for whatever. But when Chelsea go in, we will only pay 25 million. Okay, the price is 40 million, but because we have 25% sell on clause and whatever, all that with it. So it depends how you structure the contract. We could always get the player back. Now that's what Chelsea is doing because there's no need keeping the players. Although, yeah, we make money on loan, but we can make money on buyback as well. We can make money different ways.
Yeah.
Jim, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that?
You want the solution. I don't think there's many options or answers to the solution other than maybe what I said earlier, which is the Chelsea board and Chelsea have to allow a manager to stay longer than 2-3 years at our football club to allow, which will happen very soon, Kante's, Jorginho's, Aspi's, Thiago Silva's, who will be then moved on, to make a decision whether to look at the academy. I'm not saying, right, we've got rid of 7 players, we need 7 from our academy, because that's not going to happen. We're going to buy young prospects from Europe. Jules Koundé is one of them, and I do think we will get him. You bring him in. You already have Trevor Chalobah, who again's been brought through and given the opportunity and took it. You then look at and assess what you do have, and you pick. And this is why I say pick. I think this is because that's the word for it. You pick who you think you want to give certain opportunities to see whether it's in pre-season, whether it's to see in smaller games in the Carabao Cups, the 3rd round of the FA Cups. You give them opportunities, or if not, Tuchel thinks that he can do what he did with Chalobah on some of them and just give him a go, 20 minutes in big games or, in Premier League games where we're winning 2-3-0. Do that. But there has to be a structure in place. There has to be an understanding of where this club's going. And I don't think we actually have that yet, even though I do think we have the manager to do it, if that makes sense, with the ball.
Absolutely.
So I think that Tuchel does want to do that because you can already see that he's all right. People say, but he was forced into Harvey Vale and the others. I don't think he was fully forced into it. You look at that bench. That bench was still strong enough. That could have played. He could have played if he wanted to, a stronger bench in that game and decided to give these academy boys an opportunity. So that tells me that he might have it in the back of his mind that he wants to start looking at maybe seeing if there's another Chalobah. Not loads of them, but 1 or 2. If there's another Chalobah opportunity in the attacking area where we're suffering at the moment, Harvey Vale, why not? We don't need Ross Barkley in the team anymore. Let's see more of this Harvey Vale. I keep saying it, that's what I think is going to happen. But at the same time, I do think they're going to be bringing in certain prospects from Europe, young prospects from Europe, whether it's De Ligt, whether it's Koundé, whatever's touted to be. They will still go and buy. That's just Chelsea. They're not going to do a full blown. No, we're not buying. Let's see what we got. It's the way we run. It is what it is.
Ultimately, what I'd like to see is I don't think that our approaches should change all that much, because I think that the loan system is proven to be successful when you look at the likes of Reece James, Mason Mount, Fikayo Tomori, who else am I forgetting that's in the first team now?
Tammy Abraham.
Tammy did
all
all
of them
right
went
on 3 loans, but in the squad right now, there's one more name that I'm forgetting. But regardless, even Trev Chalobah went on loan and flourished.
No,
but,
even Ruben went to Crystal Palace, isn't it?
Sorry?
Ruben went to Crystal Palace.
Right, but even he still had that natural progression into the first team first, right? I don't think that that's the problem. I think the problem is we have to have somebody in between the academy and the first team that is a constant. That's that. I'm talking about a technical director. I'm talking about another Michael Emenalo, and I don't know if Peter Cech has the same sort of like remit as he did, because I don't think that. I just think that the structure of the club has changed and what the roles have kind of been shifted around a bit. But that's what I think we need. We need somebody to be, implementing the structure so that these kids can either go on loan and flourish, stay at the club and flourish. Manager comes in, manager leaves. We still have the same thing in place because we have that buffer between the first team and the youth system. If you don't have that, it's just too scatterbrained. It's too scattergun, and you don't necessarily have anything that's like tangible to say this is what this club is about. We develop the best young talent. We send them on loan. They get a football education of the highest level. Then when they're good enough, they come back into the first team and are able to play, like a Reece James, who I probably was one of the names that I forgot to mention. So that's what I think needs to happen. I like the idea of not buying a Zappacosta, not buying, a Ross Barkley. I like the idea of leaving those roles for the next up-and-coming academy star to slowly integrate into the first team. Whether it means they go on loan for a year, loan for 2 years, and then come back and take one of those spots and then slowly build into the first team. That's the type of structure that I think is successful for a club like Chelsea. You're not rushing these kids out of the academy to be, at the level to play first team football. You send them on loan, they come back in, they become integrated into the squad at a very slow pace. But eventually they start finding their feet and they start, playing a few more games here and there. And then eventually, if they're good enough, they start becoming, into the thoughts of the manager on a more regular basis. This is what I mean when I say structure. Like, if that doesn't exist, like a real sort of like plan for these kids, then we're just going to see another like Jeremy Boga. Everyone thought he was going to be touted as like this incredible attacking talent. And unfortunately, he just couldn't find a way because, the loan system just didn't make any sense for him. And then the reintegration back into the squad when Jose was around just didn't make sense either. So that's kind of how I see it. I don't know if there's anything else that you guys want to touch on. Abdul's got some ideas here.
I just want to say one last thing about the youth. Like now, when you look, for me, the scouting, Chelsea has been lacking on the scouting. For the past 5 or whatever years, Chelsea, apart from Mendy, we have not scouted properly.
Sorry.
It's true though.
Yeah. No doubt. Funny. Well said, Gabriel.
Chelsea have been lacking in scouting. All we've been doing is paying release clauses.
Yeah.
All around, paying release clauses. We're not being scouting. Mendy is the only one. We don't scout anymore. The De Bruyne, the Aspi, the Ivanovic, you name it. Any player like we used to sign. We used to sign superstars, and then we scout properly. Even Kennedy was scouted from Brazil. People forgot that. Lucas Piazon. Remember, we used to scout them cheap, 1 million, 2 million, and we make big money off them even through even loaning or whatever. But that's all gone out of the window. Now all we do is buy the Ross Barkley, the Zappacosta, the Baba Rahman, and take release clauses. I don't understand what happened. So, Peter Cech coming in.
I think it kind of still dovetails off the idea of the manager. Like, if a manager comes in on an 18-month contract and they say, well, we need you to reach these targets, here you can either buy this 25 million, pound 25-year-old who's kind of, been playing in Italy, does already, he's close to being an Italian international, or you can give this youth kid a chance that we don't know much about. What is every manager going to do? I'm going to take that 25 million. I'm going to buy that player, because there's no belief that, a young kid at 18, 19 can give you the same sort of football that this 25-year-old who's almost, like an international can give you, right? So it's either you allow for the manager to have more patience in that role.
That's
or
the level of
a
our
sporting
football,
director,
right?
You have to. Yeah,
Sorry,
you have to be patient with the manager. You have to be patient with the manager. You have to be patient with the manager, like Tuchel now you have. But people forgot, Peter Cech was one of the decision makers to bring Tuchel in. So technically, that's his man. So which is a good start. What we need, Peter Cech need help. This is why I never wanted Lampard as a manager. I wanted part of the board when Lampard retired, because with he's smart. So I wanted former players like Bayern Munich or even all the top teams have former players with football background with the money people. Okay, but Chelsea, the money people are the ones choosing managers. This is the first manager Peter Cech has a say. It's a sporting director, technical director in other clubs, they choose the manager. They will speak to the owner, they will tell the owner their plan, what they think this manager can do, or the chairman. But the sporting director or technical director choose the manager to implement the plan of the whatever. Tuchel is the first one we've had, and Tuchel love working with young players. It's only PSG. Even PSG, he promotes a lot of young players.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but I think there's one thing we're missing. I'll finish it off by saying this: is that doesn't matter what manager that comes in at Chelsea and is asked to manage this football club. There's one big thing that they all have to do. They all have to go and win something. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're being told to bring in academy players to fit your system, number one, that's a big risk, because not only are they young, but they haven't got the experience to play in this Premier League. You're not only risking that player, you're risking your time and your job, which is not. I don't think any manager wants to be the manager that thought he was good, gives him 10, 15 games in a season, and just say 10 of them games we lose. And partly to do with it was because he introduced too many of these youngsters thinking they were good enough. And you have to, and that's the thing, that the standards set at Chelsea are so high that it's easy for a manager just to go, I can't risk bringing in too many academy players. I'm just going to go and buy that young touted who's played in the Spanish La Liga or the German Bundesliga or the Italian Serie A, who are actually, playing at a decent level. I can bring in and mold him with these players. And I think that's part of the issue that we have at Chelsea. It's the targets that are set for the managers when they're coming in to win, because yourselves, if they don't do it in one season, not even two, we can sack them halfway through a season. So it's hard to rely on academy. And I think we need to change that mindset before we can allow our academy boys to come in and do what they're going to see. If Chelsea turn around and say to Tuchel, you've won us a Champions League, we expect you to win in the next 2 seasons of Premier League, he's not going to start looking at the academy. He's going to start looking at what he can bring in to strengthen this squad so that he can do that. If his expectations were to, you've won the Champions League, so we're going to give you another 3 seasons, but for the first year and a half, we're going to kind of not bother you too much. You can concentrate on maybe looking at what we have at the moment. Tell us if you think we need to go out in Europe and bring in what we need to bring in. Yeah, we'll give you the money. But if they gave him, what I'm trying to give it, if they gave him that leniency, then maybe you start seeing managers being more confident with the academy. I don't think we do that well enough. Does that make sense?
No, that's exactly what I was trying to touch on. Like the exact same point. You obviously said it more eloquently than I did, but that's the gist of it right there. I was of the same opinion. Like it's very hard to be asking a manager who is only here for 18 months to use that time to introduce youth players into the system. It's just unrealistic, like especially when they give you a transfer kit and you go buy whoever who might better suit what it is you're trying to do. So Yeah, that is the paradigm we find ourselves in, and I think we should probably just leave it at that point. Unanswered questions. I do think that there is a structure to be had if Chelsea have the ability to be a little bit more patient with either the manager or if they decide to give more responsibility to what is the technical director and Peter Cech, allow him to like actually build this structure from ground up, very similar to what we saw from Michael Emenalo. But until that happens, I think we're just going to be caught in this paradigm of looping managers, looping youth players coming in, going out on loan, coming back, new manager, going back out on loan. So I don't know. We should wrap it up there. MDT. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, man. Like you always have this ability to like speak to the truth of things, and you have a wealth of knowledge, and I'm sure we'll have you back again.
Coach, you're making me blush, man. I'm not.
Yeah, we're all very much appreciative of your knowledge, and we bounce ideas off you. You have a way of speaking to the core of the problem, which is very, very, very talented and useful on streams like this. But yeah, we will try and have you back. I'm sure that that's something that we could look at. Maybe just use this youth thing as another sort of like platform to like speak about what it is.
We'll come back in the season. We'll probably be saying the same thing. Don't worry.
So true.
Jem, I do follow your stream every day, but like sometimes the time of the day I'm pretty busy.
Yeah,
but I do follow your stream a lot. And Couch, anytime you guys want me to contribute anything, this is a family. It's a Chelsea family thing. So we all want the same thing. It's just that we see things differently, which is great. We shouldn't see these things the same way. If we do, that's trouble. We have to see things different. Yeah, different views. We listen to each other, bounce ideas, and sometimes when I come on this stream, or even when I'm watching Jem your stream, I'm thinking, oh yeah, I wasn't thinking that way. So it's like it opened my mind, to imagine things in a different way.
Well, until the next time, guys, keep the blue flag flying high and up the Chelsea.
So,
Peace.